Guys, are you excited? Are you jacked? I'm jacked. Are you jacked? I'm jacked. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. If it's your guys' first time here, make sure you subscribe. I do like doing fishing videos, and I run the largest multi-species guide service in Northeast Kansas. So today we're gonna be doing something just a little bit different, something that I've not had the opportunity to do, but I've actually been meaning to do for a really long time, and that's do a top to bottom Garmin electronics tutorial. That's a question that I get asked by clients 100 times, people that I have on the water, people on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. They want some sort of tutorial on how to read their electronics, how to dial in their electronics. And the good thing is that Garmin makes that super easy, and that's something that we're gonna cover from top to bottom today. Stick around, we might do a little bit of fishing. The wind is absolutely ripping from the northwest, so I'm gonna be extremely limited as to what areas I can actually fish. But the whole point of the video is gonna be dialing in your Garmin electronics. So let's get out there. We've got the dogs with us for moral support. As you can see, Phoebe, hey, baby. So let's get out there and learn you a thing or two about your Garmin electronics. Well, just as I suspected, with the northwest wind, this stupid North Shore that I really don't like fishing or being around at all is chock full of boats. But in the interest of wind noise, that's where we're gonna be scanning, and that's where I'm gonna be explaining stuff today. So hopefully we can make our way around this goat rope of boats on this community brush pile shoreline. Honestly, obviously, like I said, should have expected it with the way the wind's blowing today, but oh well. So first, I guess, let's talk about the units that I'm actually running on my Alumacraft. So I've got two Garmin ECHOMAP 93 SV Pluses. The Plus just indicates that it's a touch screen. Both of these units have down scan and side scan, as well as all the built-in maps that Garmin ECHOMAPs come with. Now, in the back of the boat, I'm running the GT 52 HW transducer, and in the front I'm actually just using my Motor Guide built-in 2D sonar in the front. I don't want to have to run a separate transducer in the front of the boat for down scan or side scan because I never use it. I only use 2D sonar on the front of the boat. Now, my main purpose for having my console unit running just down scan and side scan is because this right here at the helm is where I do all of my scanning. So I'm always scanning from the back. Down scan, side scan, it doesn't matter. If I run over a brush pile, I'm looking at my down scan. Now, if I'm looking for new brush piles, I'm obviously using my side scan. Looking for pods of wipers, white bass, walleyes, whatever, I'm using side scan. So there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, with your down scan and side scan, and number two, with your 2D sonar. The first thing that not a lot of people think about is the kilohertz that they're running on their units. Now, Garmin's are set up, if you have a chirp unit, to run 455 and 800 kilohertz. This has become a huge topic of discussion over the years, whether it's been starting out with Humminbird or Lowrance or Garmin, but should I run 455 or should I run 800? So I'm gonna try and break this down as easy as possible. Now, for me, honestly, 90% of the time I'm using 455 kilohertz. 455 kilohertz covers about 180 degrees. The 800 kilohertz is more downward focused and covers about 110 degrees. So I'm talking 55 degrees to each side. I use the 800 kilohertz to learn more about what I find and if I need more intricate detail. So for example, if I'm running side scan and I'm running 455 kilohertz, which is what I run, like I said, about 85 to 90% of the time, I'm covering more of an area from the left and the right side. So I'm covering more area, but I'm not getting as much detail. So if I mark a new brush pile to my left or to my right, I want to mark that with 455, go back over that, get closer to it with 800 kilohertz. Because like I said before, I use 800 kilohertz to learn more about what I find and if I need more details about that school of fish, that rock pile, that brush pile, so on and so forth. So hopefully that kind of helps you make the determination as far as what you need to be running on your Garmin unit. So now that you guys kind of have a basic understanding of the difference between 800 kilohertz and 455, let's roll over a brush pile and see what they look like in both frequencies. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, 800 kilohertz is going to provide you with a little bit more intricate detail about what you're actually looking at. As we roll over this one, you can see that that tree is super detailed. You can see the fish dots, the crappies inside of it, but it is still just a little bit faint, if that makes any sense. Now, you can adjust your brightness and contrast to kind of prevent that, but let's roll over that brush pile in 455 and I'll show you the difference. So now, as we're coming over this same exact brush pile with 455 kilohertz, you can see that the details may not be as intricate, but you're getting a much better return in a picture from that tree and those crappies inside of it. Now again, you can adjust your brightness and contrast settings within 800 kilohertz to make it look kind of like that, but I honestly, like I said, just prefer running 455 when I'm looking around because it gives you a better coverage area, even though it may not have as much detail. Okay, so what do you guys think? Can you tell the difference between 800 kilohertz and 455? Because I feel like when you look at them side by side, there is a clear difference in the pictures that you're getting depending on the frequency. Phoebe wanted to come up and say hi. But again, like I said before, you can dial in your 800 kilohertz settings with the brightness and contrast so that you're getting kind of the same picture, because with 455, the picture is a lot brighter. You're able to see the structure a lot brighter, the fish a lot brighter, whereas with the 800, you're getting more of an intricate detail, but they're just a little bit more faint. So that goes back to what I said before, especially when I'm side scanning. I'm wanting to side scan at 455 so I have a better coverage area. And then when I see something of interest, I go back over that point of interest with 800 and really dial in exactly what I'm seeing. Okay, so now that we've got all that boring stuff out of the way, let's talk about settings. I tell this to people all the time. I think they think that I'm lying to them, but with Garmin, it makes it so easy to just turn the unit on out of the box and start using it. All of my settings on my graph are pretty much set on auto medium. There may be a time or two where I'm adjusting the brightness and the contrast just depending on what I'm looking for, but for the most part, everything is auto medium. Now this goes for down scan, side scan, as well as 2D sonar. Speaking of 2D sonar, let's go to the front of the boat and talk about that. So 2D sonar, also known as traditional sonar, is pretty much as basic as it comes. Now up front, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm using my built-in MotorGuide XI5 transducer connected to my Garmin 93SV ECHOMAP in the front, just because I only use 2D sonar on the front. I have no need to use down scan in the front of the boat because, like I said before, your down scan and your side scan pictures are not going to look like anything unless you're going at least 1 to 3 miles an hour. Now, as you can see here in the bottom corner, you can see that it is running the MotorGuide transducer 200 kilohertz. 200 kilohertz means that that is exactly what MotorGuide supports. MotorGuide does not support any other frequencies besides 200 kilohertz and 77. You want yours set at 200 because you get a really small cone, which allows you to video game fish like I do in the front of the boat when I'm crappie fishing. But again, just to show you, all of these settings are set to auto medium. If we go to traditional sonar menu, the gain is set to auto medium, the range is set to auto medium, the frequency is at 200 kilohertz, there's no zoom, so on and so forth. So again, Garmin just makes it so easy to buy the unit, take it out of the box, and start using it right away without dialing in any settings. Just like I was saying before, guys, I am video game fishing with 2D sonar. Those two lines right there are my jigs bouncing up and down because I'm keeping those jigs within the 200 kilohertz transducer cone. So when I'm brush pile fishing and I'm dropping my jigs down, I can see exactly where I need to stop it so I don't sink them right into the brush pile and get hung up. And I've got a fish on. Yep, Tucker's getting his fish licks in. I totally did not plan on catching any fish today, but that little guy just happened to bite. It's like I tell all my customers when I'm teaching them how to do this. If you get your jigs to the left or to the right of the trolling motor in that transducer cone and then drop them down, you're gonna be able to see both of those jigs going down on the screen, just like they are on the right side of the screen right there. Dropped it right in front of a fish. Hopefully you might get bit instantaneously. But that's gonna dictate your success. Getting in the strike zone and staying in the strike zone instead of sinking your jig or your jigs right into the brush pile and getting hung up. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys out in trying to read your down scan or your 2D sonar. There's really not a lot to it, to be honest. Like I said, I run a lot of my settings in auto medium, but the couple things that you want to look for are your frequencies that you're running, 800 or 455, and also making sure that you're actually moving when you're looking at your graph, because you're not going to get the same picture when you're not moving versus when you're actually in motion. Now, let's try and duck out of this wind a little bit more because it's getting really obnoxious at this point, and talk about side scan. All right, so now we finally kind of ducked out of the wind. It's just getting so annoying, and there's so many guys in the areas that I want to scan. So we're just gonna stick back here in the Marina Cove and talk a little bit about everybody's favorite topic, which is Sidescan. So if you guys aren't familiar with Sidescan, you're essentially scanning however many feet to the left of your boat and however many feet you want to the right of the boat. Now, this allows you to cover a lot more water way more efficiently than if you were just scanning with down imaging or 2D sonar right below the boat. Now, the biggest issue that most people have with Sidescan is actually trying to figure out what they're looking at and how they're supposed to read it. So essentially, it almost looks like a flashlight picture from the left or the right. That's probably the worst possible way that I could explain it, but that's literally almost what it is. So you're looking for shadows, brush piles, bridge pilings, fish, anything like that that you're gonna see on your graph is gonna read a shadow on the opposite side of it. That especially reigns true when you're actually looking for schools of fish or pods of fish on the bottom. Those fish are obviously gonna have a shadow because it's shining down and to the side. And like I said before, this is especially beneficial when you're looking for new structure, when you're scanning for pods of fish, rock piles, road beds, so on and so forth, doesn't matter. It really helps when you can scan, 50 to 100 feet to either side of the boat to try and narrow that zone down. So let's side scan a couple things and I'll kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, so now on this first image that we're gonna look at here, I'm just slowly rolling across a point here in the Marina Cove, and I can see on the left and the right side a brush pile that looks like a perfect Christmas tree. So when you see them both on the left side and the right side, that means that you are pretty close. You can see that this one is about 30 to 40 feet, but we pretty much just split that right down the middle. So now what I can do with that touch screen is put my finger on the screen to create a cursor, drag that cursor over to the brush pile, hit new waypoint, and now I've just created a waypoint for that tree that I marked off the left side of my boat. So now what you can do is, now that that waypoint's on your map, is just drive right back over that and look at it a little bit more detailed to see if there's any fish on it. So for the second image that we're gonna look at here, we're just rolling across another rock point here. You guys can clearly see those rocks off to the left side and more of a mud or silt bank off to the right. So we've kind of got like a little rock pile off this point. Now as we make a turn here, we're just coming across some wave breaks, and then almost clear as day, you guys can see those wave break cables that they've got tied down. And if we move just a little bit more here, you guys can see that concrete block on the bottom for which those cables are tied to off to the left. All right, guys, that's just gonna kind of wrap it up for us today. I'm so sick of fighting the wind. It's pretty chilly out here and there's quite a few boats in the areas that I want to be in, but hopefully I did an okay job of explaining the differences between the little nuances of down scan, side scan, and 2D sonar. So let's real quick go over a couple things to kind of recap what we've learned today. So again, 800 kilohertz versus 455 kilohertz. I primarily run 455 because I want to get the most coverage area possible. And then once I see something that I want to see or a point of interest, I can dial my stuff back in, go back to that point of interest with 800 kilohertz and really look at the intricate details of that point of interest. With Sidescan, the same thing applies. 455 versus 800, you're going to get way more of a coverage area between 70 to 150 feet versus if you're running 800 kilohertz. Now, as far as brightness and contrast goes, I didn't really delve too much into that just because it's all personal preference. Brightness and contrast is pretty much self-explanatory. You guys on your units can raise the brightness or lower the contrast and just kind of get that picture that you're looking for. It's all personal preference, and it depends on what you're actually looking for. And a couple tips to think about, just remember with these ECHOMAP Plus units, and even ones that aren't Plus units, the non-touchscreen units, use your cursor when you mark a waypoint to put your cursor directly on that point of interest, whether it's a fish, a pot of fish, a rock pile, a brush pile. Put your cursor right on that point of interest and then hit new waypoint. Do not roll over something that you see as a point of interest and hit new waypoint, because by the time you've blown over that, it's probably 6 or 8 feet off. So it's always best to use your cursor to get that right on whatever you're finding and then drop a waypoint. Also, something else that I didn't really delve too much into is color palettes for the Garmin's. I like running the blue for down scan. I also like running the green, but for side scan, I really like that amber color. That allows me to see a lot of the stuff that I'm actually looking for, whether it's structure or whether it's fish, but I really like that amber color that it comes with straight out of the box. So that's pretty much it. Like I said before, I really hope that this helps you guys kind of dial in your Garmin's or your Humminbirds or your Lowrances if you're having trouble interpreting, or if you're having trouble figuring out what exactly you need to do to get the best picture. That's the best pieces of advice that I can offer. And always make sure that when you're scanning that you're actually in motion. I have a lot of people tell me that their images on their Garmin's look nothing like they do on mine. And when I ask those people if they're actually moving when they're looking at those images, the majority of those people say that they're not. So make sure that you're cruising between 1 and 3 miles an hour to get the best pictures possible out of your units. And that's it. I'm gonna get these cold ass dogs home. I'm gonna get my cold ass self home. I've got a radio interview with Midwest Outdoors on 8/10. First thing tomorrow morning at 6:30, rolling right into a guide trip tomorrow morning as well as Sunday morning. So I'm gonna go home, get all the rods ready, get the boat cleaned out, have some dinner, have a bourbon, edit this video. Let me know if you really like these tips videos. I feel like I'm a lot better at giving tips on the fly when I'm with customers in the boat versus when I'm actually in the boat trying to film it. So if you guys are into this, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching.